Also occasionally I would help cut out patterns and so on. At the same time I was teaching art and trying to do my own painting and so forth.
So we were all very busy.
While Gus was teaching art at an art school in Newark, he could also be seen carrying bundles of bags on a Fifth Avenue bus, taking them to a department store. They were a jack-of-all-trades couple. They did everything that had to be done in order to make the business successful, and they made it extremely successful. And there's a wonderful painting on the back of the book by an artist named Will Barnett, who sort of captures you know, the quality of their relationship. I mean, it was really to quote Shakespeare, a marriage of true minds. They did everything together, and they created this a wonderful company. They started in 1963, and by 1993, they sold the company. And
for 30 years, yes.
Why did you choose to sell the company?
Well, we felt that the beaded bags are going to be copied, and they were copied then already for a number of years. And we felt that we were getting old and it was too much to have to handle everything. So we wanted to give it up. But of course, it took quite a while to find somebody that would give us cash, because we didn't want to sell it for, so that people would, every year they would give us a certain amount of the money that we were due. So we didn't feel that this was the right idea to sell it to somebody that would just use our profits to pay us. So we decided that we were going to wait for somebody that gives us cash, and we sold the company for cash, which was very good.
And after that, you decided to build a museum in East Hampton.
Yes.
And what year did you do that? And why did you decide to build a museum?
I thought that what Judy, my wife, was making were works of art, and it would be a terrible shame that they would sort of disappear after we sold the business. You know, I'll give you a little idea about the handbag industry. In New York, it was located in the shadow of the Empire State Building. And those few streets around it were almost completely devoted to the manufacture of handbags. A few blocks down was the lingerie area. A few blocks further west was the furniture area, and so on and so forth. And in the at lunchtime, the streets were covered with people, handbag workers. They went out, they discussed their, who was going bankrupt, who was busy, who was not busy, who was moving from one firm to the other, and so on and so forth. So they were, it was a vibrant industry. By the time we were ready to sell, much of the industry had already moved offshore. And one of the reasons for that is you couldn't find any workers. The workers, when we started, they were from every country. They were from Europe, they were Jewish, they were Italians,
Germans.
Yeah, Germans. They had the skills at their fingertips. They had a culture of accomplishment, of skills. And where, as they retired and grew older, their kids were sent to college. They didn't want to stand at a bench and work and develop whatever illnesses came from that. They wanted to be professionals. So there was a dearth of accomplished workers that knew what they were doing. There were some Arabs who came into it because they did leather work in the Near East. but they had no culture whatsoever. There were Latinos, also without culture, but we were able to, because of the system we worked out, we were able to get Latino girls right off the street, more or less. They were clever with their fingers, and they were able to do the beading. We had about 200 girls, or somewhat less.
100 of them were beaders.
Just beaters, yes. So we were very discouraged about the future of our company. So we tried to sell it, and we were able to get this Englishman who was a watch distributor. He was not a handbag manufacturer in any way. Almost all of the handbags were situated like this. The boss did the designing, or picked whatever he wanted in Europe. The boss went to Europe, where he lived lavishly, while he was there, because every supplier in Europe would try to make him feel good. And he would, one manufacturer bought an entire line of designs every year, several times a year, and had the American pattern makers that he employed slavishly copied these. There was no internal design at all. So Judy just absolutely stood out because she did her own designing, her own pattern making. She made patterns from morning till night, and as long as she was in business, the whole 30 years, she did her own patterns. And then we employed pattern makers to work alongside of her, and because at that time, there were about 5 lines every year. There was the summer line, the early summer line, the spring line, the early spring line. There was everything in order to sell and satisfy the consumer interests, of course. So we were constantly busy making new bags. We think that we must have made 30, I don't know, how many thousand?
3,000 different designs,
yes.
Correct? Yeah. And each design is considered a unique work of art. And there are collectors all over the world who collect Judy's handbags the way they would collect the work of a famous painter or a sculptor. And they're considered that. The foreword to the book was written by a curator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, who says very emphatically that Judy's handbags are indeed works of art, and they're at a level of art that's higher than any other handbag manufacturer.
Yes, Judy got a great number of awards. Her first award was the Cody Award, and that one was the first one that was...
that had a handbag.
It was awarded to a handbag, because previously it had only given to a clothing designer. And then she got, frankly, every award that was imaginable.
And in addition to, virtually every First Lady from 1953 on carrying a Judith Leiber handbag, all the actresses who were nominated for Oscars carry Judith Leiber handbags. The ones who were nominated for Emmys carry Judith Leiber handbags. They've become an essential part of high fashion wardrobes. If you have a chance this summer to go to the Leiber Museum in Springs,
I hope you've gone and see everything.
there are several hundred of Judy's handbags on permanent exhibition there. And the library here, in its permanent Long Island collection, has a catalog of those handbags. So if you want to take a look at them, you can't take them at the library, but you can look at them. And the museum will open, I think, on Memorial Day weekend, and then it's open every Saturday and Sunday from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's free, and it's a wonderful place. Not only is there an exhibition of handbags, but also an exhibition of their collection of antique Chinese porcelains dating back thousands and thousands of years. It's one of the finest and most distinctive collections of antique Chinese porcelains. And then there are rotating shows of art. Last year there was an exhibition of Will Barnett paintings and Gus's paintings, and there'll be an exhibition of Gus's drawings this coming summer. And it's an oasis here in Springs. And the museum is in the center of a series of gardens that Gus designed. There are 7 acres of gardens, and each acre is done in a different style. And you're free to walk through the gardens, and the gardens have sculptures by a number of very well-known sculptors.
Where is this exactly?
It's on Old Stone Highway.
In Springs. Old Stone Highway near Neck Path.
There'll be a small sign out after Memorial Day weekend, but don't look for the sign until then.